Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
Where's Peninsula Hospital? While we're all standing out here, maybe we can get some answers from the New York State Department of Health. We would like transparency and honesty. What is wrong that you closed our doors? How can you close our community hospital? We need answers. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
Can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
I can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
Where is Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital
I
open!
can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's the health commissioner? Right here. Where's shame on you? Shame on you. 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 What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
I can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? I can't hear. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? Can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? Where's Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open!
When do we want board, A.J. Smith, thank you very much. Our board members and true friends, Steve Greenberg and Joe Murray, thank you. Are there any, I know Phil just texted me, he's like 2 minutes away. Is there any other electeds here or representatives? I know, I said Councilman Sanders here. Okay. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
I can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
I think there's also Mr. Bankshire from Congressman Greg Meek's office. Congressman Greg Meek's office is here too. It's quite obvious we are supported, but yet the New York State Department of Health does not want to answer what is wrong with our hospital. They just locked the door and said drop dead to Rockaways. Unacceptable. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Stretch that banner that it's, oh yes, thank you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Where is Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
Where is Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Would any of the elected officials who are here or their representatives, would you like to say a few words? James Sanders, you want to say a few words?
Yes.
Councilman James Sanders. Come on, James. Absolutely. What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
My friends, as I've said before and I've said to the Department of Health, the closing of Peninsula Hospital is a death sentence to people in the Rockaways. We have already had one of these take place. I am told that a gentleman in Breezy Point tried to make it to the hospital, had to go to Brooklyn, was suffering from a heart attack. He did not make it. He was sadly the first, but if this process continues, more will come. More will join him needlessly.
That's right.
When you have an area more than 7 square miles long, and you're talking about one hospital at one end of the peninsula, you're not going to make it. In heart attacks and other serious problems, minutes count. Moments count. To have added 15 minutes is risking our children's lives. The Department of Health has already declared much of the Rockaways a health crisis zone. Why are you closing a hospital in a health crisis zone? There's something that doesn't make sense here. At a minimum, the Department of Health should come out inspect the lab that they said was problematic. You cannot inspect it from a distance. Come and inspect the lab. If it fails, it fails. But if it passes, it passes. To the trustee, I know that you're interested in dollars and cents. We are interested in the lives of our children and ourselves. Quit worrying so much about rich people's money and care a little bit about our children. To all who are here, I commend all who have put this demonstration together, starting with Rockaway's own Lou Simon. Give credit where credit is due. But we cannot forget the brave nurses and doctors, the brave staff of Peninsula Hospital, who say they don't want to look for a job, they have a job. All the people of our great peninsula, from one end to another, who understand, what do we want? When do we want it? Now. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. What do we want? And when do we want it? Now. I commend all of those who took the bus, the train, the car. Hey, carrier pigeons for all I give. Walk, bicycles, whatever it took to get here, to let the world know that the Rockaways is united behind the idea of keeping 2 hospitals in an area that needs 2 hospitals. Congratulations. What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
Let's give Councilman Sanders a round of applause. Art Haggard, you want to say something? No, nothing. Okay. Is there any other of the elected reps, while we're waiting for a couple more to come? Anyone want to say anything, elected reps, while we're waiting? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
What's the name of the hospital? Where are we located? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
Where is Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
Our Assemblyman Phillip Goldfeder is here. Let's give him a round of applause. Come on, Phil, give us some word of the wisdom. Phil?
How we doing, everybody? You think they hear us? You know, we've said this time and time again, we've worked too hard as a community, we have stayed too strong to get beat right now. We're going to stand up, we're going to make our voices heard. So let me hear, what do we want?
Keep the hospital
When do we want it?
now.
Look, as a parent, I fear for my family, I fear for your family, and I fear for the entire community in Rockaway and Southern Queens. This hospital is absolutely important to the safety of all our families. So if you're afraid, let me hear you scream. I'm afraid, and let me tell you folks, this is how we're going to make a difference. We're going to make sure that our voices are heard. We will continue to rally, we will continue to protest until somebody starts paying attention to our community. We may live out in Rockaway, but we have Rockaway attitude. And we are not going to be pushed around by anybody. We have seen a trustee who cares about money, who cares about paying creditors, and does not care about the health and welfare of a community. We need the Department of Health to step in and to give us a real assessment on how we're going to make this hospital, how we're going to keep the hospital open. So we're going to stay here until we get an answer. What do we want? When do we want it? Great!
You know what? I just have to be honest. Rockaway people are resilient, okay? They tried to close the doors on us in August. We beat them. We are not going to allow the state health department to dictate to us. We are the community. We need Peninsula Hospital. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Where is the commissioner? Why is the commissioner not answering us? Tell us. You closed us down. What is wrong? The lab was fixed. Shame on you. 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 What do we want? When do we want it? Now. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. I can't hear you. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. What do we want? New York State Health Department, we demand answers. The blood of the man who died and the two others who died are on your hands, Mr. Commissioner, and everyone who will die in our community. We are a heart attack or a stroke and a death waiting to happen. How dare you? What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! I can't hear you. What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! Where is Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Keep Peninsula Hospital open! When do we want it? Now! Mary Liz, come over. You want to say a few words? Come on, I know your chest is burning like mine was. Come on. Let's hear it from Mary Liz. And I'm not giving her 1 minute.
I just want to say how proud I am of everybody, of my warrior co-workers. Don't give up without a fight. We're not giving up. We're not going to let them bully us. We're going to stand up for ourselves. We're going to stand up for one another. We're going to stand up for our community. God bless everybody.
Mary Bridget, I know you have some few words. Come on. Come on, Mary Bridget. Let's give her a round of applause. Come on, Mary Bridget.
Listen, as Phil just said, we were here 6 months ago, and we had the same thing. Keep our hospital open. We are an isolated community in Southern Queens. We need our hospital open. People are going to die. People are going to die, and it is on your hands. We need some transparency. We want to know what is wrong with our lab. Our lab has been redone. Our lab has been completely revamped. Our lab is state of the art. Please, we demand that you come down here. We demand that you come in and see our lab. Commissioner, do you hear me? I am a nurse in the 70s, 80s, in far Rockaway, Queens. I have taken care of thousands and thousands of people. We are needed. We are needed. Do you hear me, Commissioner? Please come down and
We have a couple of the board members. Steve Greenberg from the board. Let's give him a round of applause. Steve Greenberg. The Department of Health closed our labs in order to, but what they said, for the safety of the people of Rockaway. They stalled. It took them 2 weeks to give us an answer as to what was wrong. They refused to look at our plan. They refused to come down and even look at the lab. They're causing a health problem in Rockaway. That's the Department of Health. They should be working with us to get that lab fixed instead of closing down our hospital and putting all of us at risk. I'm glad to see everybody here. This is the right thing to do, and hopefully somebody will listen. Joe, come on. No, come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. We want you to say, hey, Joe. Come on, Joe. Come on. Okay, he's keeping an eye. He said if we got arrested, he'd be there to help me. Joe Lynch, chairman of the Breezy Point Cooperative. Breezy's been extremely supportive. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Lou. You know, I'm a Rockaway guy. We live on the western side of that peninsula. We have 2,837 families. We need a medical facility. Now, that facility has worked very well for many, many years. And sometimes I wonder what the Department of Health is thinking about. It's supposed to improve health. It's supposed to support neighborhood facilities relative to medical care. The Department of Health does not seem to be doing either. We need this hospital. We're going to fight for it. Rockaway's pretty resilient. We've been through a lot through the years, and we'll fight for this. Thank you all very much.
Who else? Barbara Rice, come here. Come up here, please. Barbara's husband, Walter, he is dying of asbestosis. And this lady stood with us the last time, if you remember, every day during the summer with no hair. She was undergoing chemo and radiation. She wants to tell her story and why it's important.
My name is Barbara Rice. I live on the peninsula. As Lou said, my husband is dying of asbestosis. He's on oxygen 24/7 around the clock. We need this hospital to stay open for the lives of all the community and to him and everybody else. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who want, Helen, you want to say something? No. Anybody who wants to come forward and say a few words? It's very important that we're heard. What do we want? Oh, wait a minute. A.J. Smith, come here. I'm sorry. A.J. is the president. Sorry, A.J., your mom would kill me. President of the Breezy Point Cooperative and a great friend.
You know, I saw a special on PBS about the bungalows of the Rockaways and how in the 1950s the city of New York basically turned its back on the Rockaways. And for many years the Rockaways went down because the city didn't give a darn. And here we are 60 years later, and the Rockaways are coming back and they're renewing themselves. And at a time when we shouldn't be here complaining about hospital closing, we should be looking for better health care on the peninsula. We're fighting to keep our only hospital, the only place that's going to make it safe for the people to live down there. Keep Peninsula Hospital open, folks.
What do we want? Where's Peninsula Hospital? What do we want? When Peninsula Hospital. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
I think it's important, and everybody here will recognize, that we thank Lou Simon. Okay? He's up every night, I can vouch, because at 1 in the morning we're on the phone talking about what we're going to do the next day, how we're going to organize, how we're going to get together. Not only that, but then he makes it happen. And he got the buses, he got the money, and don't ask how, I don't want to know, but he got the money to get the buses. And this is, you know, this is a great, this is just the next step. We just can't be quiet, folks. This has got to be the first step. Every time we do something, it's the first step to what we're going to continue doing day in, day out, until those people who need to get the message that Rockaway people will not stay quiet. Our health care is in jeopardy, our jobs are in jeopardy, our families are in jeopardy, and we're not going to take it laying down.
I want to thank Phil and just apologize, because the other night in the nursing home I might have went a little overboard about something, but thank you very much. Phil has been there from the beginning. Let's give him a round of applause. So what do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Commissioner, come on down and greet us. Take a few representatives up to your office. Let's discuss reality. Please do not pull the plug on our only community hospital that is doing strong. You are lying to the people by shutting us down. Check out our lab. Give us answers. We have 4 potential new buyers as well. Answer us. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
I can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Stretch this on you. Stretch it out. Take it in. What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
Where is Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep Peninsula Hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
I can't hear you. What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?
Rockaways.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
Where's the hospital?
Rockaways.
Where's the hospital?
Rockaways.
What's the name of the Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
Where is Peninsula Hospital? Where is Peninsula Hospital? What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Keep the hospital open.
Where's Peninsula Hospital?